Chapter 23, the most emotional and heartbreaking chapter of the novel. My personal favorite is still Chapter 10, though. Anyway, grab some tissues and let's start. Chapter 23, Separation. The big house felt very empty without her wife. Firacha had gone back to her parents' home since that day. More than 3 days passed and she still didn't come back. They didn't cut contact, they still talked on the phone, but that was all. They didn't meet. They lived in different houses now, not just different bedrooms like before. Ranchen Lopez lay on the living room sofa, staring at the ceiling. Her body felt weak and her heart felt crushed. It was like something heavy hit her chest until it almost broke. She was so tired that she fell asleep. The whole house was dark and quiet. Her breathing was slow, and the skin under her eyes was still wet from crying. In her dream, she saw her wife. She missed Firacha so much that her heart pulled her into the dream. She didn't know how long she had slept, but she woke up when the lights turned on. Firacha was shocked too. She didn't expect her wife to be home because all the lights had been off. "P. Ranchen," she said softly. When Ranchen Lopez heard her voice, she quickly sat up. She hurried to her wife and held both of her hands tightly. "Why were you sleeping here?" Firacha asked gently. Her eyes showed worry as she looked at her wife's tired face. Her beautiful Piran looked completely worn out. Since the day they had met, Ranchen Lopez had never looked this way before. "I must have fallen asleep by accident," she replied softly. "Have you slept properly at all?" Firacha's gentle voice suddenly sounded a little strict. Hearing her wife scold her made Ranchen Lopez smile. She was happy. She thought she would never hear that tone from her again. "Don't smile like that. Have you eaten yet?" When Ranchen Lopez didn't answer and only kept smiling, Firacha sighed. "No, I haven't," Ranchen Lopez admitted. Firacha let out a long sigh and didn't say anything more. Instead, she took her wife's hand and pulled her toward the kitchen. Ranchen Lopez followed quietly, tightening her grip on Firacha's hand. When the younger woman held her hand back, her eyes burned hot with tears. From the moment Firacha appeared, Ranchen Lopez had wanted to cry. She missed her wife deeply, far more than she had realized until now. The older woman sat watching her wife move around the kitchen, reheating the food the housekeeper had left earlier that evening. Her eyes did not leave Firacha, afraid that if she blinked, the woman she loved might vanish again. Firacha didn't look bright. There was no smile, but she still looked healthier than Ranchen Lopez. Firacha had a warm family. She had love and support around her. No matter how hard life became, her heart would recover with time. But Ranchen Lopez had no one. She faced each day and each night alone with all her heavy feelings. No warm family, no one who truly understood her, nothing at all. The kitchen was completely quiet. There was no conversation, only the sounds of dishes, the microwave, water being poured into a glass, and plates being set on the table. After finishing everything, Firacha sat down on the high chair next to her wife. "Thank you," Ranchen Lopez said softly. "I only warmed it up," Firacha replied. "I still want to thank you and thank you for coming back to see me." Firacha froze for a moment. She saw the happiness and hope in Ranchen Lopez's eyes, and she almost stopped breathing. Firacha didn't answer. Silence filled the room until a long time passed. Ranchen Lopez finished all her food, drank all her water, and cleaned everything quickly while her beautiful, rich wife watched her every movement. The younger woman stared at her wife's small back with sadness. If one day they became strangers, no longer married, no longer lovers, how would she live? Would she miss her until her heart broke? Firacha didn't know. She had never imagined a life without Ranchen Lopez. "Why don't you take a shower and rest?" the woman she always fell in love with asked gently after finishing the cleaning. Ranchen Lopez didn't know what her wife was thinking. She didn't know why Firacha's eyes looked so sad. She didn't dare ask anything. She wasn't sure if Firacha was ready to talk, so she was careful with every action, every word. She didn't want to hurt her wife in any way. "Do you want me to run a warm bath? I can." "Let's get divorced," Firacha said suddenly. The words hit Ranchen Lopez so hard that she stopped breathing. She hadn't even finished her sentence, but the request for divorce cut straight through her. Her legs and hands went weak. Her head felt like something heavy had slammed into it. Her eyes burned once again. So, this is what it feels like to be asked for a divorce. She had imagined it, feared it, but the real pain was far worse. And if she felt like this just hearing it, how terrible must it have been when she was the one who asked for divorce first, without warning Firacha at all. Ranchen Lopez lowered her head, not daring to meet her wife's eyes. She was afraid that if she looked at her, she would break down crying. "Thank you for trying for us. I've always seen your effort," Firacha said. Seeing her wife keep her head down hurt her too. She tried to keep her voice steady. "Thank you for everything." "Okay," Ranchen Lapas finally replied. It took her a long time to speak, and even then it was only one small word. Why ask for a divorce? She wanted to ask, but she didn't dare. She already knew the answer. Firacha breathed in deeply and slowly let it out. She blinked several times to hold back her tears. Her wife didn't question her, didn't refuse, didn't fight back, didn't try to stop her. She followed the rule they once agreed on. "If either of us asks for a divorce, that will be our final ending." The youngest daughter of the Fatcheraticorn family had said those words before. Whoever spoke the words, "Let's end it," first, that would be the true end of their marriage. "I know you didn't want those bad things to happen," P ran. "I know you're not involved, and I know you tried so hard to hold us together. I want to explain everything clearly to you, even if it's hard to understand," Neen said softly. "What are you thinking, Neen? How are you feeling? Can you tell me?" Ranchen Lapas finally looked up with a hoarse voice, pleading in her eyes. She wasn't going to beg, argue, or stop Neen from leaving. She only wanted to know what the woman who would soon become her ex-wife was feeling, and what she was thinking. "I can't love you anymore, P. Ranchen," Neen said. Both of them burst into tears at the same time. Firacha had hoped it was only anger, that after some time passed, she would calm down and be able to look at Ranchen Lapas again. But things didn't happen the way she wished. She couldn't forgive or forget what happened, the beating, the insults. The way Kinkaman treated her like she wasn't human. Kinkaman acted as if the heiress of Fatcheraticorn was an animal she could hurt however she wanted. Her dignity was trampled again and again. She had endured it all for love before, but not anymore. That incident not only increased her hatred for Kinkaman, but also made her feel worse about her wife. "I understand," Ranchen Lapas said quietly, nodding. Firacha stood up and walked to her. She gently touched the head of the woman who was crying hard. Tears kept falling. Neen's shoulders were shaking. The sobs she tried to hold back finally broke free, especially when the one who was asking for a divorce pulled her into a tight hug. This time, ending their marriage was different from before. There was no blaming, no arguing, no sarcasm, no anger. Everything was almost peaceful, almost. They had tried so hard, fixing things, adjusting, changing, healing, to keep the relationship steady. But their hearts were still fragile, so when something hit them too strongly, they shattered. No anger, no questions, everything had a reason. Saying, "I can't love you anymore," had its causes. It didn't just come out of nowhere. And Ranchen Lapas knew Neen had already done her best. Firacha had been so strong to stay this long. "Thank you for enduring everything. I truly understand why today you couldn't take it anymore," Ranchen Lapas said sincerely. Bangkok only has a few cold days each year, so when the weather finally turned cool, Firacha didn't want to miss the chance. She didn't like very cold weather, but around 23 degrees Celsius felt perfect to her. So, on this cool weekend morning, she invited her girlfriend, the beautiful and talented lawyer, to take a walk with her at a park in the middle of the city. Of course, Ranchen Lapas never refused. Whatever Firacha wanted, she always agreed. They each bought a cup of coffee and walked side by side. They sipped their drinks, talked about random things, watched small children playing with their families, and even complained about birds flying too low without fear of people. Firacha glanced at the woman next to her, who was dressed casually today, blue baggy jeans, a white t-shirt, a cap, and her long, soft hair down. And the most charming part, the lawyer was wearing glasses today. She looked very good, pretty face. Good style. Firacha silently praised herself for choosing such a wonderful partner. "Enjoy the cold breeze as much as you can. It won't be cold tomorrow," Ranchen Lapas teased, smiling before taking another sip of coffee. Firacha wrinkled her nose at her, which only made Ranchen Lapas want to pat her head again like earlier. But instead, she teased her. "It's a good thing the cold day is on the weekend," Firacha said. "If it wasn't, you wouldn't be out here walking slowly like this. You also have work, you know." "Why are you complaining, sweetheart?" "Thank you for coming to walk with me," Firacha said. She always thanked her girlfriend for everything, every time. "With pleasure. I like doing things like this with you too." Didn't just say the words. She slid her fingers between Firacha's and held her hand tightly without even turning to look at her. "I want to do everything with you." A moment later, she finally turned to meet Firacha's eyes. They stopped walking for a moment, sweetness filling the air between them. Both of them felt it. "I want to do everything with you for the rest of my life." The words were simple, but they hit Firacha's heart so hard that she had to look away. "Forever might not be real, but I want us to get as close to that word as possible." "What's wrong with you today? You're being so sweet," Firacha said, flustered. She didn't know that Ranch and Lapas had been preparing these words for a while. Ever since she made an important decision, she had been trying to find the right moment to express her feelings. When we sleep together, Ranch and Lapas started without thinking, and Firacha's eyes widened. Realizing what she just said, Ranch and Lapas quickly corrected herself, flustered. I mean, when we rest together. MHM. When we sleep side by side, I always think, I want you there with me every night. Even now, walking with you like this, I wish it could be you by my side forever. When you woke me up this morning and said, Honey, it's cold today. Let's go for a walk. Ranch and Lapas copied her soft whisper and smiled. I want to hear you invite me to do things like that until we grow old. Firacha still didn't understand why her girlfriend was acting so sweet today, but she waited, heart racing. Actually, I didn't plan to say all these things today, not here, Ranch and Lapas said softly. It should have been in a nice restaurant with classical music, the kind you love. But this cool weekend morning in the park, I think you would love this moment too. P. Ranchin. When she heard about a nice restaurant, classical music, and a romantic atmosphere, Firacha felt that she was starting to understand many things. The way her girlfriend was talking far more than usual, the soft gaze behind her glasses that never left her, and the shy little smiles that kept appearing, everything started to connect in her mind, and the moment her thoughts formed clearly, her heart, which had already been racing, began to pound even faster. Marry me, Ranch and Lapas said. Huh? It was not that she had never imagined being proposed to. They had talked about marriage before and agreed that the beautiful older woman wanted to wait until she felt more secure. Ranch and Lapas had once mentioned that 35 would be the right and most fitting age for her to marry Firacha. Back then, Firacha had scolded her in a firm voice, insisting that she was already perfect for her now, and that money should not be the point. If they kept waiting until there was enough, they might never get married in this lifetime. Even though they had already talked it through and reached an understanding, the young heiress still believed that her lover would stick to the plan of marrying at 35. So being suddenly proposed to when the beautiful lawyer was only 29 left her shocked, surprised, and overjoyed all at once. Firacha remembered arguing in a firm tone that her girlfriend was perfect right now. She didn't care about money. If they waited for the right time, they might never get married at all. But even after she said all that, she still assumed Ranch and Lapas would insist on waiting until 35. So being proposed to now, when Ranch and Lapas was only 29, made her surprised, startled, and happy all at once. I didn't just think about this today, Ranch and Lapas said with a laugh when she saw Firacha's shocked face. I've been thinking about it for a while. I thought you wanted to marry at 35, Firacha asked, the one who originally set that rule. Her smile curved so sweetly her eyes disappeared into crescents. If we marry sooner, I get to have you as my wife longer, Ranch and Lapas replied. In other words, she simply didn't want to waste any more time. I want you to be my wife. I want our lives to stay together from now on. I want our relationship to become even deeper. Then the beautiful lawyer reached into her bag and took out a small diamond ring. The simple round band looked adorable in Firacha's eyes. Ranch and Lapas had good taste, and she knew exactly what Firacha liked. The engagement ring was perfect. Marry me, she repeated softly. On a cool Saturday morning in the middle of the city park, while walking hand in hand and drinking coffee, the young heiress of the Pacharachagoon family was proposed to by her beautiful girlfriend. Yes, Firacha answered. That one word made Ranch and Lapas break into a wide smile. She briefly held the paper cup between her teeth so her hands were free, then gently took her lover's soft hand and slid the carefully chosen ring into place. Watching the scene, Firacha let out a little laugh. Stay with me as my wife until we're both old, Ranch and Lapas said. The coffee cup was finally set aside, freeing her lips to speak sweetly again. Yes, Firacha said. Let's stay together as wives until we grow old. But sadly, that wish never came true. They didn't grow old together. They didn't even come close to forever. A little over a year after the wedding, the two wives reached the point where they had to separate. The story between her and Firacha had reached its end. There were no more chances to fix anything, and once that truth hit her, tears came pouring out. Before that horrible incident at the restaurant happened, they were still happy together. So sometimes love isn't enough. Love alone can't fix every battle life throws at us. And that's what makes this story so heartbreaking. Stay tuned for the next chapter.